Steve, we were talking earlier about a lot of the crossover between like other styles like jiu-jitsu and judo over into wrestling. And there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys interested in learning how to wrestle. So this is a good question I'd like to ask you, because it's good for both jiu-jitsu guys crossing over, but also wrestlers that are currently building their fundamentals. What do you feel are some of the core principles, the most important core principles to be an effective wrestler? Like if you could travel back in time and sit and talk with yourself as a kid, what would you encourage yourself to focus mostly on?
I mean, I think position, like stance, head position, hand fighting, wrist fighting, footwork, being able to like move my feet without coming out of position, very important. I think kids that are well coached in positional wrestling and stance and motion at a young age, I feel like that foundation can carry them into higher level techniques. Like if we just start with higher level techniques, they're going to be flawed, and those flaws are harder to fix the older they get. Right? It's pretty easy to fix flaws at the beginning stage, not necessarily age, because especially with jiu-jitsu, they could be starting any age, right? So I mean, I think early is better, and the more we can work on the fundamentals, and the more we can work on the positions before, high level, complicated moves or series, right? I think head position for wrestling, on the wrestling side of it, I would say base, head position, keeping a good stance, having the condition in your legs and your lower back to hold a good stance. I think these are very important things that should be focused on early on. Yeah. Wrestling live, sparring, drilling, multiple attacks comes, I think, down the road later on,
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can totally see what you're saying too about breaking bad habits. Like once that muscle memory has been ingrained, even if it's incorrect technique, man, getting it undone can be kind of a process, both for the coach and for the wrestler, for sure. You mentioned
a lot of times for kids, it mentally is reinforced, right? Like even though the fundamental is flawed, they're so much physically superior than the guy that they're positively getting reinforced with flawed technique, So that's even a harder thing than muscle memory, because now they believe this works, and they're second guessing the guy who's saying, no, you need to do it this way. He's like, I just won the regions with this,
Right. Yeah.
So that's sometimes even harder,
Absolutely. No, that's a great point too, for sure. You mentioned one of the things that you feel is most important too is understanding hand fighting. And that's something that I know you're obviously incredibly knowledgeable on. So I'd love to pick your brain on this. What do you think are some of the best things to keep in mind for people as they're developing hand fighting skills? And what do you think are some of the big mistakes you see people make with hand fighting that cause them to have bumps in the road?
I think when you think of hand fighting, I think the first word that should pop into my mind is contact, right? How am I making contact? Because a lot of times off the whistle or even from no contact, you can be attacked, right? And you could give up position in those attacks and wind up giving up points. So I think the most important thing, the first thing is contact, right? Am I in a good stance? Where's my level of my stance? How far away is he? Am I under threat? Do I have something to block a threat that comes in before I could touch him? Things like that. What hand am I going to make contact with? Am I square? Do I have a lead leg? How am I protecting my lead leg? Which way is he circling as opposed to me making contact? Just all little things that can be like going through your head before you make contact. And that's even before you touch each other, I think that's the basis. The beginning part of it. Once we make contact, it will be trying to control either his head position or one of his arms, or being able to not let him block me with his arms so I could have a highway to his legs.
Interesting. What do you feel are some of the best ways to develop that skill? Like obviously there's tons of drills that can be done. Do you have any favorite drills that you like to put your guys through for hand fighting development?
Man, even without a partner, you can get really good at stance and motion. I mean, stance and motion, I think, is the number one thing that's overlooked at lower level or high school level wrestling. I mean, it's so important. Being able to move your feet, being able to create multiple offense, even before a threat offense, even before you touch the guy is very important. That's one of the best things you could do. After practice is over, nobody wants to do it, I don't care who they are, Dan Gable, Jordan Burroughs, doesn't matter. No one's going to say, I'm really excited for stance in motion after practice today. Yeah. But force yourself. It's like you're going to do something you don't like to do, right? But after practice is over, pull out, everybody's got cell phones now, pull out your cell phone, if you don't got a cell phone, get a stopwatch, put 2 minutes on it. In your match, visualize, pretend you're wrestling someone, right? You see a lot of guys do it in striking, shadow boxing. We need to see more shadow wrestling, right? It'll make them so much better because your brain doesn't know it's shadow wrestling. It still thinks you're taking the reps, And if you have a mirror, do it in front of a mirror so you could kind of critique yourself and fix different parts that don't look right, or if you're out of position, or your knees aren't bent quite down enough, and exaggerate every detail to the most you can. And this takes a long time, right? This is not something you're going to get done on Wednesday after practice. Do 3 2-minute periods on Wednesday after practice, then do it Friday, then do it however many days you drill. Do it after every practice. Put on your sweats, do a match stance in motion, right? Maybe do 2 of them if you want to keep sweating, but definitely do at least 1 match stance in motion. You can mix it up with jump rope. You can do 2 minutes stance in motion, 2 minutes jump rope, 2 minutes stance in motion. I mean, you get real creative however you want to do it, but actually visualize the wrestling side of it.